Chicago O'Hare International Airport. 7:45 in the evening. The terminal buzzed with the chaos of international travel. Business travelers hurried toward gates. Families herded children through security lines. Couples kissed goodbye at departure boards. But in the corner of gate B7, a woman sat alone. Not just alone, isolated. The seats around her formed a perfect circle of emptiness. Travelers would approach, scanning for open seats, then veer away. Some pretended to check their phones. Others suddenly remembered somewhere else they needed to be. A mother had pulled her curious child back 20 minutes ago, shooting a look of mingled pity and revulsion before steering them toward a different gate entirely. The woman did not react. She stared straight ahead, her posture rigid, her hands folded in her lap. She had learned that invisibility was not the worst fate. Disgust was worse. Pity was worse. The way people's faces changed when they saw her. When she turned her head toward the window, the reason for the empty seats became visible. A scar. It began at her left temple and carved a jagged path down her cheek, pulling at the corner of her eye, distorting the skin into ridges and valleys. The tissue was pink in some places, white in others, the unmistakable signature of a severe burn that had healed badly. She was 32 years old, Dr. Camille Thornton. Before the accident, she'd been engaged to a plastic surgeon named David. She had been a rising star in cardiology at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. She had been beautiful. Now she was a ghost that people looked through. A pink balloon floated past her vision. Then a small face appeared. A girl, maybe 7 years old, with tangled brown hair and eyes too large for her face. She wore a purple t-shirt with a cartoon unicorn and clutched a teddy bear with fierce protectiveness. The bear had seen better days. One button eye dangled by a thread, patches of fur worn to nothing, a seam stitched closed with mismatched thread. The girl stopped directly in front of Camille. She did not look away. She did not flinch. She studied Camille's face with the unfiltered curiosity that only children possess. Does it hurt? The question was simple, direct, free of judgment. Camille blinked. Her throat tightened. When had anyone last spoken to her without professional obligation? Not anymore, she managed. The girl tilted her head. My bear has scars too. See? She held up the teddy bear, pointing to the mismatched seam. Daddy fixed him after the washing machine ate his arm. He had to sew him with the wrong color thread. She traced the seam with one small finger. Daddy says scars mean you survived something. Before Camille could respond, a man appeared. Mid-30s. Faded gray hoodie worn thin at the elbows. 3 days of stubble. Dark circles under his eyes. The bone-deep exhaustion of a single parent running on coffee and determination. Ellie, don't bother the nice lady. He reached for his daughter but did not pull her away. Did not shoot Camille an apologetic look that really meant he was sorry his child had to see someone like her. Instead, he looked at her, not at the scar, at her eyes. I'm sorry if she interrupted you. She didn't. She was telling me about her bear. The man glanced at the teddy bear, at the clumsy stitching. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition of what it meant to hold broken things together with whatever thread you had. Is this seat taken? Camille stared. The seats had been empty for over an hour. No. He sat down. His daughter climbed into his lap, the bear tucked under her chin. The circle of emptiness was broken. I'm Marcus. This is Ellie. Camille. Something passed between them. Recognition that both were surviving something. Minutes passed. Ellie wiggled in her father's lap, watching planes taxi past the window. The silence between adults was not uncomfortable. The silence of two people who had learned that words were not always necessary. Finally, Ellie looked up at Camille. Daddy says scars are like maps. Marcus's expression shifted. A shadow crossed his features. Grief, maybe, or guilt. That's what her mother used to say. Used to. Camille understood the weight of past tense. Her mother? Vivian. Marcus's voice was steady, but there was a crack beneath the surface. She passed away. Same year as your accident, if I had to guess. I'm sorry. Marcus shook his head. Ellie doesn't remember much. She was only 4, but she remembers what Vivian used to say. Scars are maps. Storms make trees stronger. Broken crayons still color. He smiled without reaching his eyes. Vivian believed that. I'm still trying to. Ellie hugged the bear tighter. This was Mommy's bear first. She gave it to me before she went to heaven. She said it would keep me safe. The words hit Camille like a physical blow. She thought of her own losses. The fiancé who had stood in her hospital room and said, I can't marry someone who looks like that. The colleagues who stopped making eye contact. The patients who requested different doctors. But she had not lost a mother. She had not lost a wife. Your mommy sounds very wise. Ellie nodded solemnly. She was. Daddy says I'm just like her. What about you? Marcus asked quietly. Your scar, if you don't mind. Camille hesitated. She had told the story exactly 4 times. To doctors, lawyers, a therapist, and David before he walked out forever. But something about this man made her want to tell it again. Lab accident. I'm a cardiologist. Was. She corrected herself automatically. I was testing a defibrillator prototype. The company said it was safe. It wasn't. The battery exploded. She touched her cheek. 4 surgeries later, this is what I have. The company paid a settlement. Sealed the records. Her voice hardened. The company went bankrupt after the lawsuits. Changed names. Disappeared into some holding company. I didn't even know who really owned them until the settlement papers came through. By then, the damage was done. Marcus was quiet. His eyes had darkened with something cold. The company, what was it called? MedTech Solutions. Why? He did not answer immediately. Something flickered across his face. Recognition. Calculation. No reason. Just curious. The boarding announcement for Flight 227 crackled through the speakers. Marcus stood, lifting Ellie with practiced ease. That's us. You on this flight? She nodded. Maybe I'll see you on the other side. He walked toward the gate. Ellie waved over his shoulder, the teddy bear flopping in her grip. Camille watched them go. For the first time since the accident, she felt something other than emptiness. She felt seen. The plane was a Boeing 777. Marcus and Ellie sat in row 8, seats A and B. He had given her the window because she liked watching clouds. Camille was in row 9 directly behind them. She had not arranged this. But when she saw the seat numbers, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. As the engines roared and the aircraft lifted into the night sky, Camille leaned her head back and closed her eyes. Chicago fell away beneath them. For the first time since the accident, she did not dread what came next. 3 hours into the flight, the cabin was dark and still. Most passengers slept beneath thin blankets. The hum of engines was steady, hypnotic. Marcus had dozed off with Ellie curled against his shoulder. The teddy bear was wedged between them. He dreamed of Vivian, her face, her laugh, the last words she spoke before boarding Flight 447. I'll be back in 4 days, keep my spot warm. She never came back. The plane shuddered. Not gentle turbulence, a violent lurch that sent items flying. A woman screamed. Overhead bins rattled. The seatbelt sign blinked on with an urgent chime. Marcus's eyes snapped open. His arms wrapped around Ellie. The lights flickered, steadied. Then the captain's voice came through. Young, strained, barely controlled. This is First Officer Callahan. We have a flight control malfunction. Captain Brennan is incapacitated. If anyone on board has military aviation experience, please identify yourself immediately. The words echoed through the silent cabin. Marcus felt his chest tighten. His hands began to tremble, not from fear but from something older, deeper. 9 years ago, he had been Captain Marcus Reeves, United States Air Force. Call sign, Magic Hands. He had flown F-16s in combat zones. He had landed crippled aircraft in impossible conditions. Then Vivian got sick, and he walked away from the sky. He had not touched flight controls in 9 years. Ellie stirred. Her eyes opened, confused and frightened. "Daddy, what's happening?" Marcus looked at his daughter, at the fear in her eyes, then at the seat in front of him. The Atlas Airways logo, the same airline that had killed Vivian. Marcus stood. His legs felt weak. A flight attendant hurried past. Her name tag read Samara. Her face was pale. "Sir, please remain seated. I'm a pilot, Air Force, 12 years, F-16s. Samara stopped. She looked at him. The hoodie, the stubble, the exhausted eyes. Nothing about him looked like a hero, but there was something steady beneath the exhaustion. Behind him, Camille had risen. She heard everything. "Are you sure?" Samara asked. Marcus turned to Ellie. The little girl was crying silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Daddy, don't go!" He knelt in the aisle, taking her small hands in his. "Listen to me, sweetheart. I have to help some people. But I promise on Mommy's bear, I will come back." "Mommy said that too." Ellie's voice broke. "She promised she'd come back, and then she didn't." Marcus felt his heart crack. He had no defense against that truth. Then Camille stepped forward. She crouched beside Ellie, her scarred face level with the child's. "Ellie, look at me." The little girl looked at the scar, at the steady eyes beneath. "I'm a doctor. I help people when they're scared. I'm going to stay right here with you until your daddy comes back. I won't leave. Do you trust me?" Ellie studied her face. Whatever she saw, it was enough. "I trust you." Marcus looked at Camille. Something passed between them, an understanding, a promise made without words. "Thank you," he said. Then he walked toward the cockpit. The cockpit was chaos. Captain Brennan lay unconscious on the floor, blood matting his gray hair. First Officer Derek Callahan gripped the yoke with white knuckles, late 20s, terrified. "Thank God! Are you really a pilot?" Marcus was already scanning instruments. Muscle memory flooded back. "Hydraulic pressure is at 1200 psi. Should be 3000. Derek stared. "How did you—" "The backup system is compensating, but it won't hold." Marcus helped move the captain aside and settled into the left seat. "What happened?" "Severe turbulence." He hit his head on the panel. Derek's hands were shaking. "I've only got 800 hours. I've never flown manual like this." The moment Marcus's hands touched the controls, 9 years fell away. The yoke was heavy. The aircraft fought him, but his hands remembered. He was home. 10 minutes passed. The backup pump was holding, barely. "We're stable," Marcus said, "but we need to get down." He noticed a folder wedged beside the captain's seat. Internal documents, Atlas Airways logo. Marcus pulled it free. His eyes scanned the pages. His blood turned to ice. A report dated the same month Vivian's plane went down. Flight 447, her flight, hydraulic anomalies detected before departure. Recommendation to ground the aircraft, overruled. Handwritten note, CEO authorization to proceed. Schedule cannot be delayed. Signed, Richard Pemberton, CEO, Atlas Airways Holdings. Marcus read the words 3 times, his vision blurred. Vivian had not died in a weather accident. She died because a man decided schedules mattered more than lives. For 3 years, Marcus had blamed himself. Now he knew the truth. Someone had killed his wife. In the cabin, Camille sat with Ellie. The little girl had stopped crying but clutched the teddy bear so tightly the seam strained. "Tell me about your daddy," Camille said softly. "He's the best daddy in the world." Ellie's voice steadied. "He makes Mickey Mouse pancakes, and he does all the voices when he reads stories." "What else?" "He used to fly planes, really fast ones. But he stopped because of Mommy. She got sick and he wanted to take care of her." Ellie looked up. "He doesn't fly anymore because he's scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of leaving me alone, like Mommy did." Camille felt her heart constrict. She understood that fear, the fear of loving something so much that losing it became unbearable. A baby started crying nearby. The mother was panicking, unable to calm the infant. Camille squeezed Ellie's hand. "Stay here. I'll be back." She approached the mother, who flinched at her scar. "The pressure change is hurting his ears. I'm a doctor. May I?" The mother hesitated, then nodded. Camille gently showed her how to nurse to equalize pressure. Within minutes, the crying stopped. The mother looked at Camille with new eyes, eyes that saw past the scar. "Thank you. We're all scared tonight." She returned to her seat. Ellie was watching with wonder. "You helped that baby." "I tried." Ellie leaned close to her teddy bear and whispered something Camille almost missed. "Mommy, I found her. The one who'll make Daddy not sad anymore." The radio crackled. "Camille, I need you to listen." She pressed the handset to her ear. "The scar, the explosion, MedTech Solutions." "Yes, MedTech is owned by Atlas Airways Holdings, same CEO who signed off on the plane that killed Vivian." Marcus's voice was tight. "Richard Pemberton. He killed my wife. He destroyed your face. Same man, same greed." Silence. Camille's hand began to shake. 3 years of pain suddenly had a name, a face. "Are you saying same man destroyed both our lives, and he's still walking free?" She thought of every mirror she had avoided, every date she had canceled, every night she had cried alone. "Land this plane," she whispered. "We'll deal with him together." 30 minutes later, the situation had deteriorated. Hydraulic pressure was falling faster. The yoke grew heavier. The radio crackled. A woman's voice, calm, professional. "Flight 227, this is Shannon Control, Captain Yolanda Vance. Nearest option is Vagar Airport, Faroe Islands. 1,250 meters." Derek's face went white. "A 777 needs 1,800 meters minimum. What about Reykjavik?" 500 miles. At your current rate of degradation, you won't make it." Marcus checked the gauge. 200 psi, falling. "Vagar it is. Clear the runway. Fire crew standing by. Be advised, no instrument landing system. Visual approach only." Derek turned to him. "In the dark?" "In the dark. Can that be done?" Marcus remembered another cockpit. 9 years ago, an F-16 with a blown engine. His wingman bleeding behind him. Darkness. Fear. The choice every pilot eventually faced. "I've done it before. Once." He requested a radio from Samara. "I need to talk to my daughter." She brought it to Ellie. The little girl's eyes were red. "Daddy? Hey, sweetheart, I'm here. I'm scared. Please come back." "I can't right now, but I promise I'm going to get you home." Ellie was crying. "Mommy said that too. She promised." Marcus's throat tightened. "I know, baby. Mommy fought as hard as she could. And I'm fighting too. Right now. For you." Silence. Then Ellie's voice came through, smaller but steadier. "Mommy told me something once. She said you were the strongest person in the world. She said your hands could do magic." Tears slid down Marcus's cheeks. "I believe her," Ellie whispered. "I believe you, Daddy." Marcus couldn't speak. Finally, 2 words. "I love you. I love you too." In the cabin, Camille gently took the radio. Ellie hugged the bear and stared into darkness. I trust you, Daddy, she whispered. I trust you. The Faroe Islands emerged from darkness, a thin line of lights against Black Sea. Hydraulic pressure, 150 psi. Begin descent, Marcus commanded. Derek keyed the intercom. All passengers assume brace positions. Heads down. In row 9, Camille pulled Ellie close, wrapping arms around her small body. I'm scared, Ellie whispered. Me too. But your daddy is the best pilot who ever lived. Ellie closed her eyes. Mommy said his hands could do magic. I believe her. 2,000 feet, speed 190 knots. Too fast. Marcus cut the left engine. The plane tilted. He corrected with all his strength. Speed dropped. 1,000 feet. The runway rushed toward them. 1,250 meters. Beyond it, ocean. 500 feet. 200. 100. Marcus pulled back on the yoke. His arms screamed. 50 feet. 40. 30. The rear wheels hit with a deafening bang. Smoke exploded. The plane bounced, lifted, slammed down again. Marcus stomped the brakes, almost useless without hydraulics. Reverse thrust! Everything! Derek pulled the lever. The engine roared against momentum. 70 knots, 60, 50. The left tires blew. The plane listed hard. Marcus fought the rudder. Right tires blew. Metal screaming on asphalt. 40, 30, 20. The end of the runway rushed toward them. 10 knots, 50 meters from the ocean. The plane stopped. Captain Brennan would wake 14 hours later with no memory of the crisis. He would spend his career telling everyone about the stranger who saved 300 lives. In the cabin, 3 seconds of absolute silence. Then the world exploded. Not fire, but relief. Screaming, crying, laughing. Strangers embracing like family. Ellie broke free and ran. Daddy! She crashed into him. Marcus dropped to his knees, holding her like he would never let go. I'm here, baby. I kept my promise. Camille stood in the aisle, tears streaming down her scarred cheek. For the first time since the accident, she did not try to hide them. Marcus looked up. His eyes found hers. Thank you for keeping her safe. Camille shook her head. She kept me safe. 1 week later, Vagar Airport. International media filled the terminal, but they were not there for the miracle landing. Richard Pemberton strode to the podium, flanked by executives. He smiled for cameras, spoke of resilience, praised the unnamed pilot, promised transparency. Then 2 FBI agents stepped forward. Richard Pemberton, you are under arrest for 47 counts of negligent homicide in connection with Flight 447. Additional charges include obstruction of justice and conspiracy. The smile froze. Handcuffs clicked. Every camera captured the moment. Every screen broadcast it live. Near the back, Derek Callahan watched with quiet satisfaction. The young co-pilot had spent the week with investigators, not as suspect, but as witness. He had known about falsified reports for months. The emergency had given him courage. His testimony would seal Pemberton's fate. In the crowd, Marcus stood with Ellie and Camille. He felt no triumph, only peace. Vivian finally had justice. That night, a small hotel overlooking the harbor. Ellie slept in the next room, teddy bear tucked under her chin. Marcus and Camille sat on the balcony. Northern lights flickered across the sky. What happens now? She asked. I don't know. I spent 3 years just getting through each day. He turned to her. But for the first time, I want to find out. Camille looked at her scarred hands. David left me because of this face. He said he couldn't love someone who looked like this. She met his eyes. Since that day, I believed I wasn't worth loving. Marcus took her hand. You stayed with my daughter when I couldn't. You made her feel safe when the world was falling apart. His voice was rough. That's not something you do with your face. That's something you do with your heart, and your heart is beautiful. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I think I'm falling in love with you, she whispered, and it terrifies me. Good. Marcus smiled, the first real smile. I'm terrified too. Let's be terrified together. He leaned forward. She met him halfway. In the glow of the aurora, two broken people found something neither expected. A beginning. Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Gate B7. The same seats where they first met. Marcus sat in the middle. Ellie on his left, her teddy bear professionally restored but keeping the mismatched thread, because scars should stay. Camille on his right, a diamond ring on her finger. Flight 401 to London, now boarding. Daddy, Ellie said, why do we have to fly again? Marcus looked at his daughter, then at Camille. Because planes take people where they need to go, and sometimes that's forward. Mommy wanted to go to London. Yes. So we're going for her? For all of us? For our family? Ellie nodded. Then she turned to Camille. Can I call you Mom now? Camille's breath caught. She looked at Marcus. He nodded. You can call me whatever feels right. Mom feels right. Ellie hugged her bear. Mommy Vivian would want me to have a new mom. She told Daddy to keep living, not just surviving. Marcus pulled them both close. That's exactly what she said. At the jetway entrance, Ellie stopped. She looked back at the terminal. Daddy, do you know why I like planes now? Why, sweetheart? Because they bring people home. She took his hand in Camille's. And we're already home. We're just taking home with us. They walked onto the plane together. A father who had learned to fly again. A woman who had learned she was worth loving. And a little girl who understood that home was not a place, it was people. It was the ones who saw past your scars to the map beneath. It was the ones who kept their promises. 3 years ago, a plane took away the woman he loved. 6 months ago, a plane gave him the woman he would learn to love. Some journeys begin at 35,000 feet. Some families are built between takeoff and landing, and some promises are kept not because they are easy, but because they are everything. Marcus Reeves had been called Magic Hands once, a pilot who could land anything. But his greatest landing was not the one that saved 300 lives. It was the one that brought him home to the two people waiting in seats 8IE and 8B. A daughter who believed in him, and a woman who taught him to believe again. The sky was never his home. They were.